All right, everybody, let's get into it. Testosterone gummies, right? They're everywhere you look these days.
Yeah, it seems like it.
And we had a listener write in specifically wanting to know more, and I gotta say, I'm kind of curious about these myself. Do they really work, or is it just hype?
Yeah, it's a good question. There's a lot of noise out there about these things.
Totally. So we're diving into pasted text today, and it's basically this chat between two podcast hosts. Sounds familiar, right?
Uh-huh. Yeah, a little bit.
But they did a deep dive on the whole testosterone gummies thing. They were saying these gummies are super popular with guys who are dealing with, get this, hypogonadism?
Hypogonadism. That's the medical term for low testosterone, just so everyone's on the same page.
Exactly. Thanks for clarifying that. So these gummies are supposed to help with that, but pasted text pointed out some specific ingredients that I thought were interesting. They mentioned maca root,
Maca root, a pretty common one.
ashwagandha,
Heard of that.
horny goat weed, and saw palmetto.
Okay, so a real mixed bag there. And, it's interesting they picked those, right?
Why is that?
Well, each of those has a history in traditional medicine, especially for male health.
Okay, so they've been around.
Oh, yeah. But, and this is where it gets really interesting, the science behind them is kind of all over the place.
Right, because that's the million-dollar question, isn't it? Do these ingredients actually increase your testosterone levels? That's what we're all wondering. And the hosts in pasted text, they mentioned some studies, especially with ashwagandha and maca root, that suggest they might help with things like stress and libido. What's your take on that?
So there is some research, and it's promising, I'll give you that. Ashwagandha in particular seems to have some potential benefits, but it's not a home run. There's still a lot we don't know.
Like what?
Well, for starters, everybody reacts differently to these things. What works for one guy might not do a thing for another. Dosage matters, the way the ingredient is extracted, your overall health, it all plays a role. And here's the biggest thing to remember. Just because someone starts taking these ingredients and feels better, doesn't automatically mean their testosterone levels are through the roof.
That's a great point. Correlation doesn't equal causation.
Exactly. There could be a placebo effect,
Yeah.
lifestyle changes they made alongside taking the gummies. It's hard to isolate the exact cause.
Totally. Now, something else pasted text touched on that I found interesting was the whole gummies versus other supplements thing. They were saying that gummies might not be as potent as, say, capsules or powders. What's the deal with that? Does it really matter how you take these supplements?
It absolutely can. You see, the way a supplement is formulated, it directly impacts how well your body can absorb the active ingredients. And with gummies, a lot of the time, the focus is on taste and texture. Right.
Makes sense. They got to be appealing.
Right. So to make them tasty, they might use less concentrated extracts or add ingredients that actually make it harder for your body to absorb the good stuff.
Wow, so you might not be getting as much bang for your buck.
Potentially.
Yeah.
Now, I don't want to paint all gummies with the same brush here. There are definitely high-quality options out there.
Right. It's not a one-size-fits-all situation.
Exactly.
Okay, so based on everything we've discussed, it seems like these gummies, they're not like a magic solution, right? More like a potential tool in your toolkit. And speaking of tools, pasted text made a really important point. These gummies shouldn't be seen as a replacement for actual medical treatment, especially if someone has seriously low testosterone levels.
100%. If you're having significant symptoms, you've got to talk to a doctor. Don't mess around with your health.
Yeah.
Gummies, supplements, they're not a substitute for proper medical care.
Exactly. They can maybe complement a treatment plan, but they're not the main event.
Right.
So for our listeners out there who are curious about these gummies, it sounds like they could be a worthwhile addition to a healthy lifestyle. But manage your expectations, do your research, and most importantly, talk to your doctor, especially if you're having noticeable symptoms. Expert, if you could leave our listener with just one thing to remember from this deep dive, what would it be?
That's easy. Blindly following trends is never the answer. Right?
Never a good idea.
Whether it's testosterone gummies, the latest diet fad, whatever. Understand your body, do your research, and talk to a healthcare provider. Those are your power moves.
Love that. Knowledge is power. Well said. Well, folks, that was our deep dive into the world of testosterone gummies. Hopefully you learned a thing or two and you're feeling more informed and empowered to make choices that align with your health goals. Until next time, stay curious.